Hey, you. You're finally awake.
Oh, Skyrim, the timeless classic that's been sold to us so many times on so many consoles. I've replayed Skyrim so many times throughout my life, honestly couldn't give you like a solid number on the amount of times I've actually been Dragonborn. Skyrim will always be Bethesda's key to my heart, and it's literally so shocking to think that it's over 10 years old now. It feels like it was just yesterday I was renting the game at the local Walgreens Redbox, trying to beat the game in like 2 days. No, Grandma, don't make me return it. I just started the Dark Brotherhood questline. With the upcoming release of Starfield, or maybe it's out, kind of depending on when you're watching this, I figured, let's take a trip down memory lane and remind ourselves why Skyrim is so damn special. Anytime you boot up Skyrim and get to the menu screen, one of two things will happen. The soundtrack will immediately grip you by the sack, and this is where you decide, am I committed enough for this? Am I ready to sink another 60 to 100 hours and be completely immersed? Am I ready to become Dragonborn again? Or you'll alt F4 as soon as the intro starts because you're just not ready to come home to Todd yet. Soon, my sweet prince, soon. Seriously though, this always happens to me whenever I get the Skyrim itch and boot up the game. But before we dive in, I just want to get this really hot take out of the way. I'm ready to be put up on a cross for having these words even come out of my mouth. I prefer playing vanilla Skyrim.
This guy stinks!
I know mods are so great and all, but when I want to play Skyrim, I want to play it the way Todd cooked it up in the kitchen. I'm cool with the anniversary content, but I just enjoy Skyrim how it is personally. Don't get me wrong, I respect the modding community and the mods that they create, but in this video, we're talking about Skyrim. Vanilla Skyrim. Not the Skyrim that gets turned into The Witcher or Dark Souls. But with that being said, boys, let's into this bitch.
Hey, you. You're finally awake.
The most iconic lines of any intro. Nothing beats hanging with the boys Rayloff and Ulrich as we're on our way to get executed. After about 10 playthroughs though, I can see why people get annoyed with the intro since it's basically just 10 minutes of an unskippable cutscene, but me personally, I dig it. It lets me know that we're about to begin another journey into the glorious land of Skyrim. We can't talk about the intro of Skyrim without talking about the character creator. I'm a big character creator fan, especially in the Elder Scrolls games. I love the variety of races and having the ability to start creating my new character. I don't really roleplay, but it's always fun deciding who I want to be for each playthrough. I also like the fact that in Skyrim that each race has certain perks and stats affiliated with them. In the playthrough I did for this video, I decided I wanted to play as an evil black mage dark elf who hates Talos worshippers. Just kidding, his name's Clarence and he's a good boy. That's just a misunderstood dark elf. He still hates this guy though. Seriously though, the character creator is pretty great for its time. I know that there are mods that let you create like the hottest babes in Skyrim, but just remember, this is vanilla we're talking about. After you create your character and get thrust into the chopping block, praying your head falls gracefully. Oh fuck, there's a dragon! I wish I could relive the moment when I first saw Alduin and escaped Helgen. My 11-year-old self was shook. I still always choose to escape Helgen with my homie Rayloff. Sorry Hadvar, you were just about to let me die, even though my name wasn't on the execution list.
He's not on the list.
Once you finally get out of Helgen though, your Skyrim adventure truly begins, and Bethesda really shows you this with the perfect step out moment. Your first moments out in the open world really feel powerful, and it's a perfect reminder of how beautifully crafted the world of Skyrim is. I personally love Bethesda step out moments. I think they do them really good, especially in Fallout when you step out of the vaults for the first time. It's a Bethesda specialty, and I really hope Starfield has something like this. After stepping out of Helgen, the world of Skyrim is yours for the taking. You can completely ignore the main quests for hundreds and hundreds of hours if you wanted to. I've done it plenty of times throughout the years. You don't want to become Dragonborn yet? That's totally fine. Go explore, go do some side quests. I don't know, maybe do some faction quests too while you're at it. The world of Skyrim is your oyster. Most of the time though, head down to Riverwood, a nice little village next to the first big city town of Whiterun. I love the towns and cities in Skyrim. They all feel so alive and unique, and each town has its own specific vibe, and the side quests and NPC dialogues only help further show their identities. Like Whiterun, it's at a weird standstill with the big war that's currently ravaging Skyrim. The Jarl of Whiterun is struggling with who to stand with in this war. Does he want to stand with the corrupt empire, or does he want to join the racist rebellion and side with the Stormcloaks? There's this feeling of unease around Whiterun, and honestly, you can feel the impacts of the war everywhere in Skyrim, and it's something I never really picked up on when I was younger. It definitely flew under my radar for years, but these days with my big brain, it's crazy to see how much this war really adds to the lore and feel of the open world of Skyrim. I think it's super well done on Bethesda's part. It's even cooler because you get to choose a side, and you know what's funny? Both sides are awful. It's almost like the real world. Fuck politics, man. Like, can't we all just get along? Seriously though, even though if I do choose to avoid the war in Skyrim, it's cool that it's there and it really helps bring the world to life. One more thing before we drop the Skyrim politics, there's this one point later in the story where there's this peace treaty, and it only happens when you don't choose a side. It's super cool. But anyways, back to the towns and cities of Skyrim. Besides each place having their stance on the war, each city has its own identity, and I love all the quests and NPC interactions that really help bring this identity to life. You have Riften, a grimy, crime-filled town with corrupt guards trying trying to rob you at the gate. And you know what faction lives here in Riften? The Thieves Guild. Shocker. You also have places like Winterhold where the College of Magic resides, where most of the citizens in the town hate the college. They blame the college for this big catastrophe that struck their once beloved town. And then there's the capital of Skyrim, Solitude, and it honestly feels just like that. It's a lot more developed compared to other places like Riften. And due to Solitude being the capital, this is where you go join the Empire, and the weight of the war can be really felt heavily here. Solitude also has my favorite house in the game, besides obviously just, building your own. One of my other favorite cities is Markarth. The fact that it's built upon the ancient ruins of Dwemer is honestly so sick. But just in general, it's these cities and their identities that make Skyrim feel so alive. It makes me feel like I'm genuinely interacting with the world. It also helps that 9 times out of 10, the NPCs that you do interact with will give you some sort of quest, whether it's like a small bounty or a full-blown quest line. A game that rewards you for interacting with the people in it? What? For example, when you're done clearing out Bleedfall's Barrow, one of the first main story dungeons, you get this golden claw. And then if you go talk to the shop owner in Riverwood, he will tell you that some thief stole his prized possession, which is the golden claw. My man will be stoked, and he'll give you a nice pile of gold and a good slap on the ass and send you on your way. And quests like these are everywhere in Skyrim. If you go into a town you haven't visited yet and you start talking to people, you'll have a whole list of quests to start tackling in no time. I love pouring up a cup of coffee in the morning and just mindlessly doing chill, easy tasks throughout the world of Skyrim. It's honestly such a good time, and I highly recommend it. Speaking of the main story quest though, I will admit it's not the most amazing story ever, but it gets the job done. The dragons are super sick, especially when they are nice to you like Parthenax. Fuck the Blades for asking me to kill him. I never side with them, and neither should you. It's super badass becoming Dragonborn though, and you absorb your first dragon soul and the Greybeards call down to you from High Hrothgar, and everyone in Whiterun is like, oh my god, the Greybeards have summoned the Dragonborn, ah! But with my thousands of hours in Skyrim, I've honestly only beat the main story quest like a handful of times, because to be honest, that's not the focus here. It's the ability to choose what you want to do. Like I said earlier, you can go join the Thieves Guild or whatever faction you want as soon as you step out of Helgen. You can easily get so much out of Skyrim and be completely satisfied without ever touching the main story quest. I do want to talk about the faction quests, but I haven't even mentioned the character builds that you can do in this game. I love the amount of ways you can play Skyrim. You want to be a mage? Good. There's like 8 different types of magic you can use. You want to sneak around and use a bow and one-tap enemies? Good, because it's actually viable to use. And that's not even scratching the surface too. There's like a whole crafting and alchemy system, like making potions or sick armor. Leveling just slaps in Skyrim, and I wouldn't change a thing about it. But at the same time, I really like the execution of only getting XP by using my skills and not playing a numbered game like most RPG games are these days. I will say I do think the combat can be kind of unresponsive and but it's enough to get the job done. And let's be honest, you're not playing Skyrim for the combat. And this might be another hot take, but I personally think magic is the best just because there's so many spells you can use and they actually feel super powerful. But I am biased because I love playing a mage in any game. I think the combat feels especially the worst when you're fighting bigger enemies with more health, because sometimes you'll literally just be standing there waiting for the health bar to go down, especially with magic. At least with the sword and shield, you can try and shield bash to stagger the enemy, but all in all, it just doesn't feel that great. Even though Skyrim's combat is mid, I honestly think it would be a sin if I said that it holds back the game in any capacity. We are here for literally everything else. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, it's time to tackle the faction quests. The faction quests in Skyrim are easily one of my favorite things to do. I love becoming a master thief, dark brotherhood assassin who also turns into a werewolf, still being dragonborn, and in my free time going to the College of Magic and Music. I love that you can literally do all of them on the same character. While there are some exceptions, like you can only be a werewolf or a vampire, not both, but other than choosing a side or not choosing a side in the war, you have free reign on which factions you want to play. It might be a little harder to quietly assassinate targets in the Dark Brotherhood questline if you're a silly little mage, but that's okay. That's what Twitch saves are for. You'll get it eventually, Clarence. Also, the stories of these questlines can be pretty great too. Some are even almost as long as the main quest, which is great. My only complaint is that the whole betrayal trope is a little overused. Like, what? This evil looking dude is evil? What? The douchebag leader of the Thieves Guild is betraying us? What? In my most recent playthroughs, I always try and hit up the Bard's College because I think it's a fun one, and it's so vastly different compared to the other quest lines. Another thing about these quests is that you usually get some great loot from them or a ton of gold, so they're always worth doing. I always just pocket the pile of gold from the Dark Brotherhood quest line because I'm a greedy little rat. For real though, these faction quest lines are such a blast, and I try and at least do a few of them every new playthrough. The next point I want to talk about falls in line with loot, and it's the fact that the game rewards exploration. Not only talking to NPCs, but just exploring everything. I'm a loot goblin, so I check and loot every single corner I possibly can. I really like going into random dungeons and clearing them out and snagging anything and everything that'll give me gold. You can stumble across so many things across Skyrim. Some quests are just out there waiting for you. It also wouldn't be a Bethesda game without weird random interactions, like the skooma addict in this Dwemer cave.
Shut up! Shut up!
Just make sure you avoid stumbling into a giant camp. This is just another reason why Skyrim feels so alive and rewarding to play. Literally anywhere you go, you'll find something to do or loot. Really quickly, I do gotta say the Dwemer areas are also one of my favorite places to go into. They're just so eerie, and the idea that this highly advanced race of elf just kind of disappeared. It's honestly super intriguing. If I even started talking about the Elder Scrolls lore, we'd be here literally all day. One last side note, I just have to express my love for the Lovecraftian influence with the quest involving Hermaeus Mora, especially in the Dragonborn DLC when you go into his realm. Both story DLCs just slap in Skyrim, by the way. I like the Dragonborn DLC more than the Dawnguard, but both are super great. Bethesda usually does do DLC well, maybe not all of Fallout 4. I do think Far Harbor was a banger though. But the fact I could just sit here and talk about Skyrim all day truly proves how timeless this gem is, man. Yes, it is bullshit. It's been sold to us so many times by Bethesda. Todd Howard just keeps dangling it in our faces, but they kept doing it for a reason, and it's just because Skyrim is one of those games people will always come back to, me included, obviously. Luckily, once Starfield comes out, they probably won't try and resell us Skyrim. I say that, but it'll probably be sold to us again with the next generation of gaming. Maybe it'll be like a Skyrim Starfield bundle. Nah, Todd ain't that generous. Seriously though, I am super stoked for Starfield. All of this might age like some milk in your car in the summer, but this is Bethesda's last chance. If they drop the ball on Starfield, their track record is gonna be ruined. Like, look what Fallout 76 did to their brand image.
I mean, it's alright, like.
I am hopeful though, because it really seems like this is the game Todd has been waiting to make for literally like 20 plus years. If there is one thing that I would like to see, it's more choices like in Fallout 3 with the amount of content from Skyrim. One thing that I think that Skyrim lacks is the amount of choice, but it honestly just makes up for it with the amount of overflowing content throughout the world. One thing that really does scare me about Starfield is that they're really going with this thousands and thousands of worlds you can go to type vibe, and it sounds like Starfield has the potential to feel really empty. But you know, as long as some of the planets feel really alive and give you a ton to do like the towns in Skyrim, I'm happy. I'm cool with some of the planets being barren, especially because they have the settlement system from Fallout 4 coming back. I'm totally down to build cool things on planets, but don't make it a huge portion of the game, please. I just want a Bethesda RPG experience in space. I am also a big space nut, so any RPG that I can get that is in space, I'm usually already sold. I would love to do a video on the Mass Effect trilogy. That would be super fun, so maybe we'll do that down the road. All in all, I am getting really excited for Starfield. I'm definitely going to be doing a video on it when it drops here soon. And if it sucks, at least we got the Elder Scrolls 6 to look forward to. I'll be like in my 30s when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, and that fucking scares me, man. But anyways, boys, I'm going to call the video there. Thank you so much for watching today. If you like what you saw, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. And thank you guys all so much for your support. Seriously, it really means the world. But anyways, guys, I'll catch you in the Starfield video here soon, and yeah, peace.